what we try to do is help kind of sift through that content and make it easier for people to make that informed sort of buying decision. So you see more of the community aspect.
What's up, everybody? It's Dave Drakes with The Collective Experience, and we are back for another TCE interview. And this week, I am on with Jim Matheson from Pure Moto, one of the coolest sites that's popped up in the recent little bit here. What's going on, Jim? How are you, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
No worries. No worries, man. I was super pumped to get on and meet you and chat a little bit about Pure Moto. It's super cool, and I'm pretty pumped to get it in front of a bunch of people out there. So to get kicked off and get started, Pure Moto is pretty unique. I feel like not a lot of people, US side really know a lot about it, but it's such a cool, unique new deal. How did you get the start to I guess put Pure Moto out there? Where'd the idea come from to get this out there? And for people who might not be familiar with it, how is it different than some other online stores and shops that we see?
Yeah, so my co-founder Joaquin Aranda and I started the company. I don't know, we started working on this just before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And really for us, so I've spent my whole career at startups. Joaquin and I met many years ago at a very early actual startup in the motorcycle industry in the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. He continued on in the working in the motorcycle industry the whole time, whereas I kind of did the Silicon Valley tech scene for a while.
Okay, wow.
And I actually took a break. I took a break from riding. Mm-hmm. I kind of overdid it in my 20s and just and got burnt out. And then I picked it back up about four or 5 years ago, mm-hmm. And just immediately got really back into it. So and in doing that, we kind of just we constantly were talking about some of the problems that the broader industry has had, and really that's where kind of the idea around taking a fresh look at things and doing things differently in hopes to help grow the industry. So that's kind of where the idea came from, and then obviously like both the combination of industry experience and tech background.
That's super cool. So not a lot of people in like the moto world really have that ties to like startup / Silicon Valley. How did you get hooked up with that in the first place, like going down that route? Because that's more like, Elon Musk territory, not so much, motorcycle industry.
Yeah, well, I was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area, so that's cool. That's where everything is.
Yeah. Yep.
I ended up going to school for computer science. So like out of college, I was doing like software stuff, and then I switched over and spent a lot of years in marketing. But yeah, it was kind of like I grew up riding dirt bikes because of my dad, and then I grew up around the tech scene, and so that's kind of always been those are the two things in my heart. So I spent a lot of years working in tech, not on stuff related to the motorcycle industry, and it seems like there's just technology's come a long way in the last 10 years, and so it seemed like a good opportunity to kind of try to tackle some problems that we're seeing in the industry that we can potentially help out with.
Oh, for sure. That's super rad. Now, were the startups that you mostly, had your early experience with, were those more so motorcycle related, or were those more of a broader footprint of different industries?
All over different industries. A little bit in the motorcycle industry.
Okay.
That's how Joaquin and I met. So we spent 3 years together in there, and then I kind of jumped out of the industry for my next gig. So.
Oh, that's super rad. I wanted to get back a little bit. And you said you had your start in riding dirt bikes and stuff like that. Very much similar to my background. Did you grow up doing like mostly like track stuff? Was it more woods racing? What did you mostly get into?
Yeah, mostly like woods,
Okay.
so cross country, enduro
Yep.
type of stuff. So that's what my dad did.
Yep.
So I did a little bit of moto here and there, but
Mhm.
not too much. I've always I think enjoyed the I guess just the different terrain and the different, like I've been doing a lot of hard enduro type of
Mhm.
stuff more recently now.
Yep.
So just the challenges of the different terrain and stuff, and kind of on long rides where you're going on stuff maybe one or two laps around things, as opposed to like trying to perfect every corner and every jump. So yeah, so just mostly on the off-road side, did
Mhm.
for about maybe 10 or 15 years, did a ton of events in District 36, which is like the Northern California area.
That's super cool. I'm starting to hear a lot more stories of people's background being more so into like the free ride kind of enduro work series kind of background, as opposed to a lot of the people that I grew up with. It was everyone did motocross. Everyone was just strictly
Yeah.
motocross, very few woods riding. So it's cool to kind of get the cool stories of like, no, my background was woods racing, enduro, and it's cool, man. I like the fact that
Yeah.
we all have our own niche. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like if I ride a bike with no handguards, I get freaked out. So yeah, I mean, and that's really like a lot of what we're doing with PureMoto is we're trying to segment things out a bit more
Yeah.
into different sections and areas, because the way a particular product may work for somebody on the track, like
Mhm.
a tire, for example, is going to be
Yep.
completely different than somebody trying to go over a bunch of rocks or something like that. And so the uses, different products are going to have their strengths and weaknesses in different areas, and so trying to segment the audience so that you're really like, we're one big industry and we're one big community, but
Mhm.
there's dozens and dozens of small communities underneath there. So
Oh, for sure. That I definitely agree. That's a very, I think, very effective way to look at the industry. Now, was that always your plan to kind of, I guess, dissect each individual sector of riding for Pure Moto, or did that kind of happen more so organically?
I think that's how we were thinking about it.
Mhm.
A lot of when I got back into writing, I had been out for a while, and so just getting up to speed on everything, even somebody who's kind of done this for their whole life, is just a challenge. Like a lot of stuff comes up, and so there's a lot of digging and research you have to get into
Mhm.
to kind of make a good product decision. And you tend to look in those areas that
Mhm.
are related to the type of writing you do. And so we knew that, like, we actually, like, Joaquin's more of a street based guy. He grew up in that side of the house,
Yep.
although he kind of does everything.
Mhm.
I've ridden street a little bit, but I'm mostly an off-road guy. So, and then some of the other guys on the team, we have our MX guys. So we just kind of find, like, hey, where people's passions are. We haven't
Yeah.
built out, for example, adventure touring side yet,
Mhm.
although we do have somebody on the team now who's into that. So we may
Yeah.
do that. But for us, it's like we want to make sure that we're not just peanut butter spreading everything, but
Mhm.
we're more focused on the technology
Yep.
that kind of helps bring people together,
Mhm.
to kind of help them make those sort of informed buying decisions for the perfect product for whatever they're looking for.
That's rad. That's what initially got me kind of hooked on it. And again, for those of you out there that aren't familiar with Pure Moto, it really does a great job of bringing that motorcycle sort of like retail meets um almost like a cool social aspect. Like it's super super unique. Can you kind of describe, I guess, the difference between like a Pure Moto and some of the other retailers that we might see online?
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of online retailers are e-commerce companies,
Yeah.
and e-commerce companies' general concept is, we're going to have a couple of big warehouses, massive warehouses. We're going to try to bring a bunch of products in, and then we're going to ship them out to you.
Mhm.
And so a lot of the motivation there is, hey, like, we want to get stuff to you quickly. We want to have, like, good selection, and our goal, like, obviously we want to be competitive on the pricing side, but our goal is to basically sell as much of our stuff as we can,
Mhm.
and to every company's goal is to turn a profit.
Yeah.
But really, like, it's really like there's a blueprint for for e-commerce. So I think what's different about us, there's kind of two main things. The first one is the concept around gathering and ranking content to help people make informed product decisions. So today, a lot of times people go somewhere else. They go to a lot. You have like, I imagine like I had like 40 tabs open on my browser and researching all of these things. And then finally I make a decision. Then I got to go find out where to buy. And so those guys do a good job of like kind of helping you check out and buy. And they do have some reviews, but they're just a little bit flat and they're less interactive. And so what we try to do is help kind of sift through that content and make it easier for people to make that informed sort of buying decision. So you see more of the community aspect. It's early days for us, so the community's small, but we've got it's growing, and we got a good base of people that are interacting there. And we're really trying to figure out ways, leveraging technology to kind of bring that best content in. There's a lot of great content. I saw you just interviewed Kyle from Dirt Bike Channel. He's done a ton of great stuff. But you kind of have to know where to go to get that. And so if you're actually looking for that product, being able to bring that stuff from across the internet. So that side's a little bit maybe like a Reddit or something like that, where it's kind of bringing together stuff across the internet and then allowing people to further discuss it. So that's one of the key differences. And then the second one is we gather product availability from all over and consolidate in one place. So there's somewhere around 8,500, I believe, motorcycle shops in the US. Some of those are really small and some of those are really big, but they all have a little bit of anywhere from a small amount to a huge amount of inventory. And so really we're looking at those as there's thousands of warehouses across the country, and most people have some that are like fairly close to them, certainly ones that they could drive to or they could get shipped to potentially even same day at some point. And so that's really where we started looking at the differences, especially with the pandemic hitting. There's so many products that are back ordered, right? Like the big online guys don't have them. There's regional distributors, which is where a lot of products get sourced from. So we can work with them as well if we can't get it from a local dealer. So we basically look at like what's the best, most effective, quickest way to get it to the customer and how the customer wants. Sometimes you want to be able to try a product on, or you need that product because you're going riding in tomorrow, right? It's Thursday night, you're out in the garage and you're like, oh no, I forgot this. And so it's really hard today without something like PureMoto, because you don't know where that inventory lies and you don't know where you can pull it from. So we give you the option. You can, we connect you directly with a shop and you can go pick it up, or we can ship it to you. And the idea as we continue to grow is to ship it to you from as close as we possibly can. And if we need to go to a regional warehouse, we will. But in the early days, we've seen some really good success of people finding products that they just can't find anywhere else because they're back ordered everywhere. And so it's a bit of a hunt these days to find things if you want a certain thing. So we're seeing some good success there. And the idea there is like, help you make the good informed product decision, that at least you're informed in your decision. It's still your decision to make. We want as much good and bad across the site, so people get that balanced feel. A lot of times what you see is kind of filtered and whitewashed because if you're just trying to drive sales. And then ultimately we think that that's going to help people make better decisions. And then when they're ready to buy, how do they get it in their hands in the way that's most efficient for them? So a lot of people like to just have something show up at the door, but they do want it to show up quicker. A lot of people want to go in and interact. We think that the shops are going to have to survive for the industry to survive.
Agreed. 100% agree. And I think those are two very good points, or good plans of attack, or focus rather, where, I think it's going to be the most benefit to us, because it's I mean, how often, like you said, you have 40 tabs across your screen, and I'm one of those guys that, like, if I want boots, I'm spending a week going like, okay, well, why Alpine Star? Why not Liad, or why not Garnet? You know, and I'm going back and forth and doing the research, and be able to have a lot of input that's like real input where people can, you know, tag links and send articles and stuff in one concise location. It would save me so much time. So that right there is great. But the fact that I can have an option of how I want to pick it up and how I want to, you know, actually get it, whether I want it shipped or go to the local shop and try it on and interact with the people there, I think that's great. And also, like, the third thing is it's helping those local moto shops. So I think all this is freaking fantastic, man. It's long overdue to have something like this in the industry where it tackles just so many areas that I think really need a lot of attention, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the local shops, most people have a story. I don't know if you have a story from when you were young about a local shop, but a local shop is where people start. You know, when somebody goes to get started, they most likely are going to go down to their local shop. And those local shops are important. You know, we talk about in the industry for forever, we talk about, like, how do we grow the sport? How do we grow the sport? That's like the one question that people talk about. And now we're in this place. I just saw a report. So the motorcycle sales in the US are up 33% over 2019.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, like, they're like, it would be amazing if we could grow by 10%. So now we have it. Like, what are we going to do to keep those riders?
Yes.
You know, there's so many cases. Had a friend call, and his nephew was trying to get into riding, but he couldn't really figure it out, especially if you don't know, if you're not already well connected.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get your information? Didn't know what bike to buy. Was confused. You know, the first pair of boots you buy the wrong ones, and you end up like, you just don't know. And he wanted to get into riding, but just like some of the most basic questions, things that like you or I would never even think about. And so having that conversation for 45 minutes, at the end, he was like, "Oh, thank you so much. Like, I was about to just get into rock climbing instead." Literally, that's what he said.
Wow.
And it's like, you know, you would think like rock climbing is I think rock climbing is really hard, but like in terms of like figuring out something like a motorcycle and all the gear and everything you need, it's definitely going to be much harder. And so like that was one of the things where it's like, man, how can we like, I'm not going to be able to help a million people like this guy, but the community can. And so how can we help facilitate that? And ultimately, like, the local shops play a big part in that.
They do.
People go to local shops. And we've kind of all been trained to assume that the shop doesn't have it anymore. And it's too hard to double check. And so that's one of the things we're trying to make is like, let's make it easier to check what the local shop actually has, because what happens is if less people go in to buy stuff, then they're going to stock less. And then if they're stocking less and less people go in. So it's kind of been in this downward spiral. And now when we can do it the other way around, right, we can show that inventory. People are going to now start buying more of that inventory from those local shops, which means they can stock more. And once they can stock more, they can sell more. And it kind of changes that model. And, you know, our thought is we want to help the whole industry. If the whole industry grows and the whole industry stays strong, it's grown. We've been very lucky. We had this huge growth. Like, how do we maintain it? And part of that is like, is coming together to help make sure that the consumers have a good experience.
Oh, 100%. And I've talked about this with so many people. We like that 33%, that big boom is going to be so influential. And we might not see it, you know, this year or next year, but like down the road of like just that 3, 4, 5-year span of people continuously consuming product, by, you know, tires, gear, you know, oil for their motorcycle, buying new motorcycles. Like this boom that we're having right now is going to be so great for the industry. I think it's up to everyone to help cultivate it, and all of us to be ambassadors for accepting this new crop of people and really nurturing them and fostering them into doing things the right way, and to a way that they really enjoy the sport and don't really get turned off of it. Because it's kind of a gnarly thing for people who are new to it, right? I mean, you've got a motor vehicle. It's quote unquote dangerous for a lot of people. It's loud, it's fumes, it's oils, it's a lot. So the better that we can do in setting them up the right way and really being, I guess, everyone's sort of be a mentor for that next generation. I think that's so paramount to the longevity and overall success of our industry.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, I think that the things such as YouTube is really helping a lot, because now one person can help a million people. And so, we really believe in kind of like, there's a lot of new stuff happening that's really helping people. And so people are learning a lot of stuff, people are getting motivated. Certainly in terms of like deciding on products, for a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff to get involved with the sport that's really expensive. And we all have that thing hanging in our garage, or 6 things hanging in our garage. It's still brand new and you didn't use it because you didn't buy that right thing. And so it's important, especially at the beginning, right? You end up buying stuff that's expensive, that's not the right thing. Obviously, if you can return it if you haven't tried it on, but usually you use whatever that thing is a few times, and then you realize it's the wrong thing. So knowing that that was the wrong thing, like, how do we get those stories out of people? How do we get those things out so we can all learn better? So how can we get instead of those 40 tabs, how can we get it down to a few tabs, but having it the best of that information so that you can really make that informed decision, is really where we're seeing some real opportunity to help people. Because I can tell you right now, like, if you go on to a website like Rocky Mountain ATVMC, there's 229 pairs of motocross boots you can choose from. And that's a lot. And so, and where do you start? And so, or you mentioned something like an Alpine Stars boots. So Alpine Stars boots, hey, I watch Supercross. I know Tech 10s are the premium boot, but it turns out they have Tech 7 Enduro boots, and the Tech 7s have a different sole on them, or a different patch there that goes on top of the foot pegs, and they don't wear out as easily. And they have a Dry Star one that like doesn't get as wet when you're riding through creeks. And so that, maybe if you're an Alpine Stars fan, you may not know that, right? Because a lot of the outward marketing tells you like, buy Tech 10s, they're the best one. And they're lighter, and they've got their own benefits, but depending upon what you're looking to do, depending upon your price point, there's a lot of decisions that you can make along the way, where you go like, hey, I bought a pair of Tech 10s and they wore out pretty fast. And that's a bummer when they do that, because Alpine Stars makes a great product, and maybe one that's perfect for them, but they didn't realize it.
I definitely agree with you. And again, I can't tell you how many stories I have, man, about buying the wrong product because you don't know, you know what I mean? You don't have that feedback. And again, this is such a great thing that could help prevent that for so many people down the road. I wish I had this when I was like 12 and 13, and my family was still kind of learning about the whole moto deal. So no, that's awesome. Like what are some of the goals that you have for PureMoto? Because it sounds like it can help so many people. Like what are some maybe short-term and long-term goals for the brand?
We've got some big aspirations. we classify ourselves. So we talked about the e-commerce companies.
Yep.
We classify ourselves as an aggregator, right? So we're gathering and helping to rate the content to make informed decisions, and we're gathering product availability. And so really for us, we want to get all the brands on the platform, and we want to build up and get as many shops on the platform as possible. So ultimately the goal, I mean, our big goal is like, we want to get people consistently participating in motorcycling. Like getting out there is, I haven't been riding in the last few weeks, and I need to get out there. To be a happy person, I need to be out there.
That throttle therapy.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the ultimate goal, but certainly for us, like, we really want to be the place where you go when you need to make a product purchase decision. And if you're looking to find a product, like, you should be able to see where that's available, to actually make the purchase. And then, we want to be able to facilitate that for a huge set of people. We're focused on the US market. We've got interest. We've been working with brands as well, because brands are they want to see their products move in the physical stores as well. And so, we have interest in Europe, in Canada, Australia, other areas. So ultimately, like, even when you look at something like YouTube, right, like the influence is much broader than it used to be. So I don't know about you, but I know a lot of the YouTubers, they're only getting about 30% of their views. We're working with Aaron Colton, who's a Red Bull rider, and he does bike builds.
Love the bike builds.
I'm not sure I got the number from him, but generally it's like 30% are from the US. So there's this broader influence as well. So certainly, our hope that our solution works worldwide. So we want to be able to facilitate stuff end-to-end worldwide. So that's kind of where we want to head. Right now we're just starting. So we've got shops on board in California. We're just now rolling out across the country. So really for us, this year we want to get, our goal is to take the 25 biggest metro areas of the US and make sure we have 5 shops in every one of those areas on the platform. So that way, if you're near one of those metros, and then obviously we want to get further and further out over time. But if you're near one of those metros, we have local shops that you can check before you go to your online purchase.
That is awesome. And again, helping the local shops and giving people an informed buying decision, that's just going to foster loyalty and trustworthiness and PureMoto, because you're getting real actual feedback, reviews, input from people that on their product. And again, that is so paramount, man. I am such the overthinker when it comes to buying things, that it's like, this would save me so much time. I know it's going to save a lot of other people time as well. So this is awesome, man. I'm really glad that we got a chance to dissect this a little bit, and and it's so cool to see another brand just kind of get born from just about passion and just wanting to do good in the industry, and out there helping people. So this is fantastic.
Yeah, cool. It's been great. Been great chatting with you. Would love to do it again in the future. We have a lot of good things in the works. So thanks for having me.
No, for sure. I got one more question for you. Have you been watching the Pro Motocross series at all?
Of course, yes.
Okay. Who are you rooting for the 450 class? And I try to ask this to everybody, but man, this is probably one of the tightest series races I've seen in a while. I know this is a total divergent from PureMoto, but what are you thinking in terms of who's going to have that number 1 plate in just a couple weeks here?
Well, Ferrandis is, unless something falls apart, he's pretty much got it. He's man, that quad. I keep seeing everybody posting that quad.
Insane.
Yeah, it's interesting because I tend to, most rider. I actually like most riders. I've
Yeah.
gone. Back in the day, you have your rider, maybe
Mhm.
Stewart in your case. It looks like,
Yeah, yeah,
but like,
big Stewart
but
guy.
now, because everybody's so out there, like
Yep.
you get more of the stories, and so there's
Yes.
great things about almost every single rider out
Yeah.
there. So yeah, I mean it seems like Dylan's got it, but then yeah, you start to look forward to everybody taking a fresh look again next season, and
Yeah.
it's exciting. But yeah, no, I don't know, like it's great to see Kenny have some just being at the front. So many of these past couple of years, he's kind of dropped off as things go on. He's stayed
Yeah.
strong, but yeah, there's just a lot of surprises. And then, it's always a bummer towards the end, like the field sort of gets thinner as people have injuries and whatnot.
Sadly, that's a part of our sport, man. Sadly, but no, you're absolutely right. This, like, Ferrandis, I'm a huge Ferrandis fan right now. I've been a fan of his since he came over from the GPs, and man, the things he's doing in that Yamaha, it's absolutely remarkable, man. The way he's getting in and out of ruts, carrying speed, wheeling over things, and just staying light on his feet, it's phenomenal. But I will say, when it comes to like Supercross and stuff, I am such a Ken Roczen fan. Man, I am a Ken Roczen fan. So I almost feel like I'm like being pulled in two different spots between Ken Roczen and Ferrandis. You know what I mean? Like, depends on the moto. I'll cheer for either one. So.
Yeah, I mean, I always cheer, like the 250s are fun because I always cheer for something to come down to the wire. But
Yep.
yeah, no, the Yamahas are just quite interesting, right? Like they they make a few changes. Obviously, the big one bringing in the star guys, but man, like it's like night and day. Like it used to be the bike that you didn't really want to be on, and now it's kind of the one that everybody wants. And yeah, it shows that the bikes are closer than they ever have been before, I think, in terms of like what's available. So yeah, no, it's fun. I'd like to see I'd like to see some other guys get up there and mix it up, but it seems like it's a 2-horse race. I thought it seemed like Tomac was going to be there, but it hasn't panned out that way. So
who knows? We still have a couple more motos to go. We'll see how it shakes up. But man, like you said, that points lead that Ferrandis has seems almost insurmountable at this point. And the fact that he got that big of a lead, like, so early in the season, I'll still say it's pretty early for a lead like that. Man, what a world-class racer, man. Absolute world class.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see, right, the interviews, because it seemed like he was surprised at the beginning of the season that he was out front. So but yeah, it's just kind of cool to see how the personalities come out. And yeah, it seems like we have a good mix of guys over the last couple of years. And yeah, I have no idea who's going to be at the front. As each new series starts. So yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see how it shakes out. And then and then excited for next year too.
Oh, 100%. Next year is just going to be super crazy. We have some guys that bump up to the 450 class, maybe a guy or two moving out, but is
anybody moving up?
I think for next year, I've heard a few different things. I've heard Smith might move up depending on who you talk to. I heard that, but again, this is all hearsay, speculating. Who else did I hear might move up? I heard Nichols might move up, but again, all speculation. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't want to put anything out there that's not gonna, I don't have hard facts on, but I've heard some sprinkling in the pits. So we'll see. But this like I said, this is super great. I'm glad we got a chance to do this. If people want to hear more about PureMoto, find out how they can get hooked up with all of the cool benefits of kind of being a part of that community, where can they find you? Where can they go, and where can they kind of spread the word?
Yeah, so PureMoto.com. If you sign up for an account, we've got a bunch of stuff that we're working on for later this fall. That will be going out to our lists. We've got some, we're constant as a startup, like that's the thing. that what you see is not what you're going to get in a year or in 2 years or in 3 years. So we're constantly iterating through and improving stuff. So there's more stuff coming out, but if you go to puremoto.com, you can sign up there. We have, we're also on Instagram under Pure Moto. And we're looking to get that going as well as we get new stuff out. We've got a bunch of stuff in the works. So yeah, check it out.
Awesome. Well, we're going to link that all below. Guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share if you like the content. As always, we are brought to you by the great people at FXR Racing, Flow Vision Goggles, Overshear Advice and Planning, Intake Breathing Bands. Make sure you copy some Intake Breathing Bands, as well as Evans Power Cooling, and a lot more sponsors that are linked below. Please be sure to use our promo codes and share the love of Moto, and get hooked up. Jim, this is great. We're gonna do this again very, very soon. Thank you for the time, and we will talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Take care.